Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Let's Run Facebook Ads, the podcast with me, Nick Boddington and James Urquhart. Today, we're going to be looking at the sales process after the click. And does this suck? What I mean by that is, what happens after the consumer has literally put their lead in or gone onto your website? This is really, really important. And this is where we're going to discuss it in more detail. I hope you enjoy. Morning, James.
Nicholas, how are we?
All right, thank you. So you're on a little walk today?
It's the only time I could fit in this call and everything else that's going on. So it's not that I'm big time. I just generally have no time. So I'm now walking two dogs and here chatting with you. So yeah.
So those who are on a walk now, listening to the podcast, James is recording the podcast whilst also having a walk. So it's all entwined. It's looking nice.
I was going to say, it's nice. They've already had their poos, so you won't need to hear me pick those up. And also, I'll mute every time I have to call them to run away from another dog, so you won't also hear that. So there you go.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So the sales process. So there's a few things we can discuss here. So we're sort of going to get in the minds of a few of the listeners, because different listeners are in different places, and they could also think. So if we've got a freelancer, they can think about this from getting their own leads coming through. If you're an e-commerce, then we can look at the pixel, and if we're generating leads for a company for a sales process, as in like a telemarketing team or whatever, like lead generation, it's what is happening there. Because I would say, from our point of view as an agency, this is something that is really important, because if it's not working properly, it's the ads that get blamed in these situations. And if we go right back to when we sort of started out with this sort of with the ad world, what we sort of noticed very quickly is that what other agencies were delivering in their proposals, because obviously we went out and we sort of did that secret shopper thing just to see what other agencies were doing. And it was all very much, oh yeah, we can help. They haven't seen the website, they don't know what the process is, they don't know anything about it. Yet that salesperson is saying, yeah, we can help with this. We can make this work. Now, what I would say is, any ad agency that turns around and says, even when they've seen everything, yes, I can make it work, unless they're literally copying and pasting from a current client because everything else is the same, that might give them some legs. But otherwise, you can't just say, yes, it's going to work until you've tried a load of testing. So it makes selling, your services as an agency a bit harder, because you've really got to sell yourself and the reasoning why you say you can't just do it. So we obviously then went in and thought, okay, if we're going to create longevity with our clients, we need to keep a client on board. How do we keep a client on board? We've got to make the ads work. But it's not just about making the ads work. It's about them winning business, whatever it is, customers, new services, e-commerce, sales, whatever. That whole funnel has got to be 100% all the way through. So where we've probably, as an agency, have come from an earlier start of probably just running Facebook ads to the full funnel structure, simply because we have to do it like that, don't we? Otherwise, we're just literally getting someone to someone's website or someone to someone's lead page, getting them to fill in the form, getting them to put their email address in, and if the process on the other side from the client side is rubbish, then we're out, because we're just going to get the blame for it. So from your point of view, James, obviously you're front of house and you're well speaking to clients. When we talk about some of the clients we've had where we're talking about electronic card systems, we've got a new client come on board now who sells energy efficient homes and all that sort of thing. We've got to make sure that they are slick. Otherwise, they will point the finger at us if things aren't going on. Agree?
Well, from a lead generation perspective, it's really hard, because you don't want to how can I be polite about this? You can't discredit their current systems and processes, even though you want to, because there's a lot of customers that have come to us and said, "Oh, can you?" Or prospects, sorry, have come over and said, "Oh, look, can you help?" And I've looked at it and gone, "Well, we can drive you the correct traffic and generate you some leads, but they're actually not gonna convert because you just haven't got that process in place. And I know, on this podcast, and I'm sure every podcast under the sun when it comes to marketing, they're all about processes and post click, but it is really true. You need those processes in place, and it needs to be slick. And something else something that you also need to really realize is that you need to annoy these people. Direct marketing, I know we were discussing this morning with our other venture, but you can't just leave these leads alone once they've come in. You've spent money acquiring this prospect or this customer. Why would you then leave them to make the decision?
Yeah. And
you've got to have that absolutely down to a T. And it's not going to work from day one, because you're going to learn, and certain email addresses, certain email subject lines or certain copy isn't going to work on the third email, so you change to the fourth and vice versa. But you've got to get it done, because otherwise you are just wasting your money, whether that's internally, staffing, or with agencies or internal, if it's your own business and you're on your own Facebook ads or even PPC ads, you are going to be wasting your money. We've turned down this year, to give you an example, I would say 30 to 40 businesses that I've said, go away and sort these out before you come back to us. And 99% of them have been really like, wow, I wasn't really expecting that. And I said, well, there's no point in us driving traffic to these, your website, if you've got the landing pages, because you are just wasting your money. And it's so key to have that in place. And I know, we've harped on about it, continuously on this podcast from day one, but it is so important. I know you said about the sort of the EPOS system client that we had. We've had to tell that particular client to basically just go away for a few months and sort those processes out, because they're still using a spreadsheet to assess their leads. There's not even a CRM in place, and for us that's crazy, and we can't really attribute what leads are going where, and what process they've got in house, and they're spending some serious dollar, going up to 10 grand a month at the moment. I think he couldn't really see where those conversions were. So that was one way we've had to say, look, just go away and then come back.
Yeah, because from us as an agency, if we have more control over it, great. But essentially, if you're talking about lead generations, once the lead has gone through and it's gone through to the client, in a way we're out, because they're going to have their own processes in place in-house, and we're hoping to God that it is true. But if we talk about one of our good friends and client who is, he's been on the podcast before, and he's built up, tremendous business, and he's switched on with the sales process, etc. Well, we were on a call last week, and he'll be listening. He'll listen to this episode.
Are you talking about the Wolf of Marble?
Yeah. He'll listen to this and go, yeah, you got me there. But so his process is there. He's got automated emails. He's got people calling, every couple of days, because I did a bit of a secret shopper, all that sort of stuff. But then when Olivia and I were on the call with him, and we said, this is what we've spent, these are how many leads have come through. One little chunk of his sales process was that one of the girls in his sales team, when she'd got the sale in or put the quote come through, she had been attributing the lead to another website. So it was only when he looked at the name, let's say it's Joe Blogs, common one there, Joe Blogs, and realized that actually that had come through our funnel, it was like, oh, she's been putting them down to the wrong thing. So if he hadn't have seen that, and he saw it because he knows his sales process internally, but if he hadn't seen that, he could have turned around to us and gone, well, you spent $6,000, but you've only produced 7 to 8 grand's worth of business, which means it's not working. There's no point in doing it. In actual fact, it ended up that it created about 60 grand's worth of business, because once it had been attributed properly. So for the people who are listening, that's what we're talking about. If you're sort of getting confused, the ad brings in the person who goes, hey, are you interested in this client services? Yes, I am. Great. Do you want to have some more information? Yes. Put your email address and telephone number in here. Goes through to the client. That client really needs to be hot. And if you've got, because I listened to another podcast yesterday, which is about this, and the podcast guy was interviewing one of his clients about it, same sort of structure, and the client, who was based in Brazil, had said, and he got away with it because it's Brazil and not the UK or America or whatever. But he basically put in the terms, unless you do what we say, we can sack you off as a client, but still retain full payment of that invoice, simply because they recognize if that process is broken in that bottleneck and the client, after the click or put the email address in, hasn't got a process in place, all that's going to happen is it's not going to work. The agency is going to get blamed because the client's automatically going to blame us. They're not going to blame their own processes in house, are they? They're not going to blame their little sales guys who are sitting there twiddling their thumbs all day when the boss is out of the office and then pick up the phone when the boss walks back in. Well, that's what happens, isn't it, Jess? I mean, how many businesses have we been around, even in big companies, where you'd look at and go, okay, they've got a bit of a sales process, and then when we've looked in harder, we're like, shit, these guys are crap. So all those leads go to waste.
Yeah, that company in Brazil is interesting because sort of that Brazilian client of that agency is that should they have taken them on?
Well, this is the thing. So they'll look through the process now, and they won't take on a. So this is the thing. He said that when they onboard a client, they even have a to-do list, and these are all the things that they have to do and have to have in place before they take them on. A bit like what you said with those 30.
Yeah, and look at the clients that we our client base at the moment. A lot of the I know we're talking a lot about lead generation here, but a lot of the lead generation clients we have, Olivia basically tells them what to do. The second they join, and join us, because we have to have that in place. And regardless if it's using an agency or again, you're doing it as a freelancer or you're even doing it as your own entity, money's being wasted if it's not done. And there's no shame in saying, look, this is shit, I need to stop. There's no shame in that at all. A lot of the companies that I've spoke to, just let's say these 30, I think there is an element of them going, well, if I turn them off, what's going to happen? Well, obviously, look, from a Facebook perspective, yes, you're not just going to turn them on, they're going to work like they were. That's just the nature of the beast. But what would you prefer? For them to not work like they were, but you're losing money, or wait and make sure that process is right and your conversion rate is increased? Look at the work that we've done for the ads clinic. So, the ads clinic, which I know Nick discusses at the end of this podcast, but I guess I found a bit of a gap, didn't I, that evening, Nick? I called you and said, there's an agency, which is like we are, but then you've also got courses. There's sort of nothing in between. So someone like us who are creating ads, we're running our own ads, we're getting people into our own funnel, and we've stopped it. And that's being open and honest. We spent $4,500 on ads. We created, from a pipeline perspective, 200,000, which is crazy. So kudos to the team for obviously getting our ads working. But our cost per lead was £180 to start with. We got it down to around £35 within 6 weeks. And there was enough data then for me to look at and go, we're losing too many. There's bottlenecks here. So I turned my ads off. We Nick. I made that decision last Tuesday, I think it was. And we just turned them off. Yes, would I want them running? Of course I would. Are we going to turn them back on? They're going to be £35 leads? Absolutely not. They're going to be more like 100. But you've got to just realize that sometimes it is better just to stop and reevaluate and just keep spending money. Because otherwise, and especially if you're a small business, we're very limited with what funds you've got. Just stop sometimes and just realize that it's not the ads. Sometimes it is just that post click and what's going on. And also, Nick, from a post click, and I guess some people will listen to this going, well, I do follow up on them. That's not just it. So when someone comes into your ecosystem, you need to essentially sort of lead score them, as it were, and you need to funnel them off in different positions depending on what their needs are. And I think this is where a lot of people, especially in lead generation, get confused. So if you take, let's say a kitchen fitter, there'll be some people that want, a whole kitchen done. There'll be some people that just want an island. There'll be some people that just want new doors. Now, depending on how that customer's interacting with you, you'll need to send them down a different process.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So for us, we've got people that want to come into the ads clinic, and there's some people that we can't help because they've never run an ad before. Now, the ads clinic is to help people who are running ads get them better results. But if you're not running ads, we can't help you because we're not going to sit on a call and teach how to run ads. That's not what it's there for. So we either send them down a different post-click sequence, as it were. That's not a bad thing. I'm just giving the right content to the right people. I think a lot of people get confused with that sort of post-click lead generation sort of follow-up, because it is just, get on the phone, email, but they're generic emails, aren't they? They're just, here's a bit more about my brand. It's not tailored to what that consumer's wanting or needing.
They've got to give value. In a way, show you can help somebody by actually helping them. So if they go, if suddenly they're not right for the ads clinic from a consultancy point of view because it's too early, they go down to the course, and then the emails are tailored to the problem that person's had right then. Here's some really good ways to start building your ad first of all, blah 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 blah, which the sales process is for the course at this point. But those people are going to start getting value, and it's the same from the podcast, all that sort of stuff. We're giving value across, so we're proving that we know what we're talking about. So prove you can help someone by actually helping them. And it's a very it's a long-winded way of doing it, but it creates a lot more clients in the long run, and those clients stay for longer, and you're proving yourselves, because otherwise you're just going out there and just trying to basically, it's low-hanging fruit again, isn't it?
Well, it's a low-hanging fruit, it's a low-hanging fruit, but it's also that lifetime value. If you're going into a business and they've got multiple products and services, if you start them on like an entry, look at some of the companies that do it really well in the UK at the moment. So you've got people like Gusto and HelloFresh. They're a really good example. They get you in these introductory offers. Now, they know that the lifetime value of that customer, if they even use them 2 weeks of the month, what's that, 50, 100? So you're looking at probably not far off $2,000 a year.
Well, I've got a delivery today. I've been using the 6 months. I have a delivery every week, 3 meals in it.
Yeah, but I would say they're very slick on their follow-ups. Would you say? Obviously I know they don't get on the phone, but they do call my other half when we don't use them for a certain volume of time because we go around the house and just use the discount case.
I had one in the discount because I cancelled Gusto, which I had for the kids, then cancelled it off simply because it just wasn't being used enough properly, and so I turned it off, and then I got a 50% off thing for the first 3 months or whatever came through.
And did you use it, or are you going to use it?
I possibly will, but I also got one from HelloFresh and I haven't tried them yet, so it's giving them a go, isn't it?
Don't do HelloFresh. Don't do HelloFresh. Don't do HelloFresh.
No.
No, it's annoying. It's just I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet with how they tell you how to cook it. It's annoying.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough. So I use that Mindful Chef one, but yeah, they've got the value out of me. So I've spent £35 a month.
But if they just had one follow-up process, it wouldn't work, would it? Theirs is like, and this is how all lead generation follow-up should look. It should look like a spider's web, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like when I draw ours out, and the guys internally laugh because they're like, Jesus Christ, what have you got? Well, but it has to. I have to show value to everyone that's come in.
Yeah.
Because you will lose them. You will lose them, 100%. You'll lose them.
Yeah. And it's also being on the fact that if you're giving, the one thing that comes up a lot when we're doing email structures for people is the fact they're like, oh, but I don't want to send it too often because I don't want to annoy them. It's like, well, you're not going to annoy them. What's your open rate? And this is the other thing. They'll send an email out. They'll have like a 15% open rate. Well, that's if we're talking of 1,000 people, that's 850 that haven't even seen the email. So send it again to the people who didn't open, and keep sending it to the people who didn't open until for 3 or 4 times. But you have to do this because people just get busy in their lives. We from the bottlenecks that we've had from the consultants from the ads clinic is that they come in, I do a 30-minute consultation call with them, they go away. And they've got we got the email structure in behind, and it pulls some people through, but not enough to what we want the conversion rates to be. So now we've appointed other people to come on and do the follow-ups, some follow-up sequence to it on the phone and on the email and replying to the emails and things like that, because you have to have it. And I think, especially in this world, people want this evergreen structure, don't they? Especially in the digital market.
I was just going to say, can we have a little chat about this evergreen? Because I totally get it. And there's some businesses and some people out there that have done it very successfully. And I'm not saying you can't get an evergreen funnel working, because you can.
Yeah.
Do I think you can extract more value if you were to add a human element to it? Absolutely. With hands down, I truly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned, I'm not going to mention their names, but some pretty big people in this market, American or whatever, who are selling their course and all this on. They've done very, very well for themselves. But like I said to you the other day, I was like, if they'd have just employed someone or a virtual assistant to just do a little bit more follow-up based on phone follow-up and actual, rather than just relying on an email sequence, how much more money could they have made? And we know, just from the fact that I follow up on the ads clinic, how many I've closed by picking up the phone compared to not picking up the phone. It's a lot. It's a big difference, isn't it?
It's still,
people have got to get kicked over the line.
They've got to. I know we're in this sort of digital age, and again, we spoke about this at length this morning, if people stuff can get on and do, but this notion that you can just play someone via email and so digitally, I'm not sold, especially with things like with people like Theo. You're selling 60 grand kitchens. You're not going to sell that via an email.
No.
Yes, you can get people into your ecosystem via Facebook and PPC and the like. But depending on what your product is, you have to have some form of human element to it. You've got to, because there's a lot of these products and services you're selling, they're quite emotional. Whether that's a bad example here, but like a funeral plan or something of that ilk, and even the kitchen, they're both emotionally invested purchases. Whether that's how you want the kitchen to like, your family's gonna sit around the island, have their breakfast every morning, or so I'm still a big believer of that. You've got to have someone on the phone at some point, just being a face and just a touch point to that business. This notion that you can just fire emails off and keep running ads and keep retargeting through DPAs and stuff. Yes, obviously from e-commerce perspective, absolutely. I do think, for lead generation, like you said, some of those ones, especially in our space, that we all know and we've all seen them. They've done absolutely well. And to be fair to them, they've creamed it. They've done very, very well. But like you said, how much more could they have done if they had added that human element? I know we're going off a bit of a tangent here in terms of sort of that follow-up process, that post-click, but I think you've got to really get a good combination of good emails. I think before you even get to that point, I think you've really got to segment your clients and your prospects. I think you can do that pretty easy nowadays with landing pages. Have drop-down boxes like we do on our landing pages. Where are you right now? What stage are you at? Whether it's a kitchen, are you a self builder? Are you just sort of changing your kitchen? All that stuff. And then again, you've got that segmentation. So when you are giving content to these prospects, you're not wasting their time.
Yeah,
because
because James, that's when they are pissed off with your emails coming through, because it's not tailored towards them. It's not giving them any value.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely correct. And I think that's where, unfortunately, this sort of digital marketing sort of world has sometimes got a bit of a bad name because of that. Because that segmentation. Obviously, we can segment with what we do, and we can do it, very sophisticatedly. I don't know if that's a word. But once they've clicked on, we need to understand what their needs are. And if we don't understand their needs, we can't give them value, and then we can't close them. You'll close them, absolutely, you'll close them, and you'll probably look at your returns and go, oh, God, that's really good. But, as I write emails a lot, I use this what if. What if you converted more by doing this? What if we changed your ad and did, it's obviously it's always what if, because you don't know, but with the results we've seen with that's our data clients or for Let's on Social, when people are segmenting prior to that follow-up process, you see a stark difference, a huge difference. in results. But like I said, then Nick, it's value, isn't it? People get annoyed when you get emails constantly from a company which are not tailored to you.
I got a barbecue the other day, as you know. I didn't buy a cover with it. 5 days later, I got an email, barbecue covers. I then went through the covers, chose the one I wanted, bought it, got delivered yesterday.
I would say
marketing.
That's perfect, isn't it? So what they've done is with that, and they've been fucking clever. They've not done it straight away. They've done it enough for you to have used the barbecue a couple of times because weather, and gone, he'll now need that. He would have seen the need for that. Right, let's email him. Very clever.
But anyone
would you say it's wrong? But I was going to say
it's the bore. Most people just find it boring. But what I wanted to get from this podcast as a topic is the fact that, like you said, we've gone off tangent, but it hasn't really. I wanted, for the people who are listening to this, you're either running your own business and you need to do lead gen yourself, and this is a wake-up call to what you need to do behind the scenes of your own company. And B, if you're taking on companies or winning business as an agency or freelancer, you need to make sure that this is the sort. Maybe it doesn't need to go as far in as we have gone, but they need to make sure that it's set up correctly when the client's got an inkling. Otherwise, you're just literally going to have problems, because you're going to be sending leads through and you're going to go, oh, I've got you 10 leads a day for £6 a lead or whatever. The client's spending £60 a day, and the client's not closing because their sales process is crap. You get the blame. You are the one who will get the phone call.
Something I was going to say actually, Nick, is that sometimes they don't need to be that sophisticated, because it is a one size fits all product.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's many out there, but I'm not saying you can't segment your services or products, but there are some out there that you can. It is a one size fits all, so you don't have to be as sophisticated.
Yeah.
And also, when I said then about this spider's web, and I know I go into, I probably go a bit too detailed, and I know it's annoying, especially for us internally, because it takes longer to implement. But you can just start out by starting and just evolving as you go. So start with a follow, whether that's, segment by, are you below 20 or above 20? Really simple to start with. And as you grow in the business, obviously, as you're seeing results, and as you can invest more money and time into it, then create that huge spider's web of, are you this, are you that? They have to go in that direction. Actually, once they finish that sequence, they go in here. Obviously, from day one, you'd love to do that, but actually, there's a lot of data to analyze. So for a lot of you out there listening, and now there is a lot actually, which is crazy. I would start simple. I would do some segmentation post click, whether that's a drop down of 2 or 3 boxes, and then follow up based on what they've put in those, whichever box they've ticked, or that drop down box, and then evolve. Don't go crazy from day one if you haven't got time to analyze after, because you won't know where those bottlenecks are. You won't be able to see them. Obviously, we've done this for many moons, so we can spot them pretty quickly. But even ours, the ads clinic, I didn't go crazy. I'd say it's pretty basic what we would typically do, because I knew that it was a new concept and we need to really understand where those bottlenecks were. We've addressed them in 6 weeks, and they'll go live again next week. So that'll then evolve as well. When you look at the volume of emails we've put in certain sequences, I think some of them have, I think I've 5 times some of them now, because I've seen what people are clicking and what the value they need or want.
Yeah.
So even though, in an ideal world, all of us would love this, all in one encompassing system, and they go here and they go there, and it's as close to evergreen as you want it. It's impossible. You can't do it from day one. There's a lot of learnings, and it's like ads, like the stuff we do daily. It's not going to work first time. You've got to just keep going and keep reading that data, which I know we discuss a lot on here, and I know it's a little bit boring, but it's the key to all of it, isn't it? Really,
it's all data. That's
all data.
The key to the learning.
I know we've discussed lead gen. How long have we been on there now, Nick? So I can't tell the time. Okay, should we go on ecom?
Yeah.
We've got time, haven't we?
Yeah. So from an ecom point of view, I think it's again.
Oh, actually, sorry, Nick, just 1 second. Actually, for anyone that is listening and wants to, I've actually got a sort of like a template email that I do for my own stuff. If anyone wants that from a lead generation perspective and actually wants to have a copy of my post-click lead gen web, email me and I'll send it over to you. It's james@letsonsocial.com. Yeah, I've literally just got a template to I work to. And it's quite in depth, but yeah, if anyone wants that, just give me a shout and I can pop that over to you. Sorry, Nick, go on.
So yeah, from an e-commerce point of view, I spend a lot of time on e-com clients now, especially through the ads clinic. A lot of e-com comes in, and it's a lot of the time it's what's going on the website that people just don't understand. And most of the time, in fact, I don't think I've seen one that's using conversion objectives to bring in the traffic. They're just using traffic objectives because that's what they've learned through whether it's YouTube, whether it's other courses. There's still this whole thing about traffic. And I think really,
what's the difference between those two, Nick?
Well, you've got traffic, which is essentially people that click links. So 3 years ago, you could get away with driving traffic to an e-commerce website or a lot of websites, even landing pages or lead gen, because the algorithm wasn't as advanced as it is now. The algorithm now has really knows that traffic is the people who click links. They click links, they go through to a website. If they give the website enough time to load up, which then becomes a landing page view, but they're just driving traffic because logically as well, if the whole terminology around this sector is you need to drive traffic to your website, and then you go onto Facebook Ads Manager and you go to create an ad, and the first one that jumps out to you is called traffic, you're going to press it, aren't you? Because you'll look at conversions and probably go, I don't know what those ones do. Well, I'll just drive traffic. And then they set it up. They can see every day spending a tenner. They can go on the next day and see that they've had 68 link clicks to the website. And they go, oh, well, I'm getting clicks to the website. That is what I see all the time. I'm getting clicks to the website. But those clicks are bouncing because those people aren't interested enough to become a purchaser. Now, there was a time only a year and a half ago that we would drive traffic to a website, especially if it was a brand new website, because we wanted to start getting the pixel warm and getting it firing and things like that. But at the end of the day, you're still providing your Facebook pixel with bad intelligence. So I would use purchase conversions for landing pages all the way across. But then the problem is you need to have your Facebook pixel set up correctly. So you need to go through your website, because one of the clients that we've taken on in the ads clinic only in the last 2 days already had 2 calls with them very quickly, is because they're not using Shopify, they're using a particular running platform. So it's a company that build websites, but they specialize in that sector. So it's e-com, it's built for that. But the pixel, once it's gone on the website, like in Shopify, you just put your 12-digit pixel into the preferences and whatever, simply done in settings. This one's the same, apart from it then doesn't go across the website. So it doesn't go to your add to cart, it doesn't go to initiate checkout, it doesn't go across all the pages. You just get a page view. Now that company, James, as you know, they've been running ads using an agency in the States for about 4 months. And no one else has I think it's longer than that, 6 months. No one else has even picked up on this. I got on one call, I'm like, your pixel's not firing properly. You're not going to get any orders. You might as well turn all your ads off. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you're spending you've got a $5,000 budget. Nothing's going to come out of this.
Yeah, and I'll give a little shout out to Mark, actually, because Mark listens to this podcast, actually, reached out to us probably 6 months ago, Nick, when we first started, actually. He's been one of the first people that actually emailed me as a byproduct of this podcast. And he was one of the ones that I said, I don't think you're ready for an agency. You haven't really got the budgets, and obviously with our fees, I I just didn't think it was right, if I'm honest. Now, on the flip side of that, he's obviously come on as a client as the ad clinic because I think that's the better fit for him. And already within one call, you've noticed that wasn't set up correctly. Now, I felt a bit bad when you told me that because if we'd have taken him on as an agency client 4 months ago or however long ago it was, we'd have spotted that within an hour. So he's still been wasting money for 4 months, which is so frustrating. And but if anyone's looking for running shoes, Utah Run, great guy, Mark.
Yeah, great. So we're driving traffic to his shop now. We're trying to get in and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, that's another podcast on driving traffic to a store. So that is actually one of my next podcasts coming up. But so his pixel's not firing. So I've gone through obviously their understanding over the pixel, etc. But if you're telling Facebook to go, it's like I use like the carrot and the donkey analogy. If the donkey is the ad, the user coming in through the ad, the carrot has to be put at the end of the transaction. This is what people forget to understand. It's not about just getting that. If you just drive that person to the website, to the homepage, and there's no pixel firing properly on the pages, that person will just bounce away and you're not going to get any information from it. The pixel has to pick up. So all the people that come through and add to cart and go to initiate checkout and purchase, the pixel picks up on all this information. So when you set up your ads to go purchase conversions, Facebook knows that it's got to go out and find more people similar to the people who are already purchasing from you. And that's the only way you're going to get your ads to work from an e-commerce point of view, because link clicks and driving traffic and stuff like that, it's just not going to work, because link clicks don't produce orders. And I've said this a million times. Well, I have said this a million times on this podcast. That Win Vans client that we had, where we split tested the two. One was set for purchase conversions, and they got I was drinking at the lake, and they got purchases at like £2 a purchase. And then the client said, "Oh, I want you to do just traffic now to make it cheaper." And I said, "It's not going to work. You're not going to get purchases." 4,600 people went to the same landing page, and they didn't get one purchase. And that was the difference between using traffic and using a purchase conversions campaign. So even though, we're talking about post-click, the website has to be conversions. Now, one of my bugbears, and we even know website designers who agree with us, website designers build a website to make it look good and functionally work. They do not make it to convert. And when I'm talking like now, going in depth on how you need to make it convert, where you need to add cart buttons, you don't want too much information on the page. You want shipping to be brought back earlier onto the add to cart, because I believe that the consumer needs to know their cost on the add to cart page, not waiting until you're near the end of checkout and you put your bloody address details in, all that boring stuff. You need to know earlier. Website designers that we speak to go, "All right, I've not really heard of that terminology," and it's like, Jesus Christ. So that's what we're working on. That's what the world's working with, which is really, really, that's just the way it is. But you've got to be looking at the whole conversion thing. So whether this is something for your own business to make sure that you're going to win clients, or whether it's you talking to a client currently and you need to make it better, or you're going to take on a client, these are the things you have to know about. You've got to have these things right. Otherwise, there's not going to be any longevity in it.
From an e-commerce perspective as well, I think a lot of people get confused to why we're driving traffic or conversion traffic to that website. A lot of companies that I speak to, and again, this is sort of pre-sale as it were, they get a bit confused. They get confused on what the objective is, which I know sounds crazy. And I'm sure a lot of people go, they want to sell their products. Yes, they do, but they've also got this little word that I hear a lot, and it drives me nuts, is brand. Their brand. Well, not to spoil anyone's party, but you can't create a brand without revenue. And revenue comes. Branding. A brand will come from people using your products. If no one's buying your products, guess what? You haven't got a bloody brand. And and again, when you look at websites that convert opposed to websites that don't, again, there's a massive contrast between some of these, because singular products. And I know I use this a lot, but when you look at companies like Booty, not that I'm endorsing Booty at all, but some of their landing pages are just long copy, single page landing pages. And for certain products, they are an absolute gem. Are they sexy? Not particularly. Do they look a bit ugly on occasion? Yes. But do they give value to the prospect? Yes. Do they get people educating and learning about the product? Yes. Is it done quickly? Yes. And is there a good conversion rate? Yes. So a lot of e-commerce clients, and again, sort of prospects pre-sale, they're too worried about, how the website's looking, the banners, all the imagery. Sometimes you just need to sort of forget that, and that brand will come in time. Look at Gymshark. Look at when they first started. I know that's a real crazy example to give, but even that lad who owns it, Ben, he says, looking back, that shark was fucking awful. That logo, the website was bad, but they had a product that people wanted because they were very clever with their marketing.
Yeah, but the brand comes from the delivery. All these thoughts, how your product comes to you, how quickly it comes to you, what the customer service is, putting a little slip in there to say, hey, thanks for your order, appreciate it, here's 10% off your next one. That's what's creating the brand. Because people in their head go, like, look at Amazon. If people think everyone knows Amazon as a brand, but what do they know Amazon for? Next day or same day delivery. They've got everything, and it's usually cheaper.
But they couldn't get their sales, could they? They couldn't get their right conversions. And I'd say to anyone that is running an e-commerce shop, or they're a freelancer for an e-commerce business, is just have that in the forefront of your mind, and especially the client's mind, is these brands are built by conversions. They're not built by someone going on the website going, oh God, what an amazing product. Okay, cool. You're not going to survive, and the brand's never going to be built. You need conversions. And again, I'm not saying not make it look pretty, of course, make it look as aesthetically pleasing as possible, but you need to focus on that conversion. And if it means having a landing page or a single page shop that looks a bit, not as you'd like, just don't worry. It's not going to be the end goal. And also, it depends what you're in for. You're in for building a brand or making money. And I think that's where I think some people get a bit confused. I think, when you look at these big brands like Gymshark and the like, it's all lovely because they've got millions of staff, and there's that company ethos, and they're like, oh God, yeah, no, I did it because I loved it. Yeah, but he's one in a million. You can't use him as an example. People that say, do what you love, and I agree with that. But you've got to have some level of autonomy in terms of purchasing, and that's very important. And again, it's the data, isn't it? From your perspective, Nick, to the clients that we have at the moment, are you still, obviously I know we are, but have you seen people evolve as they've come on to, as they've come into Let's Social in terms of their landing page views, to content views, to add to carts, and how's that, I guess, evolved?
Well, they're starting to understand it themselves, because all we do is reiterate why something is or isn't working. And it's especially people come on with a product, and we can very quickly, after running some cash into some ads, see where the product is. For instance, like if you're selling, we've got plenty of clients who are selling products like 20 to 30 pounds, and their statistics are all above average, like absolute textbook, but their ROAS isn't as high as they want to. The only way they can get their ROAS higher is by creating bundles and getting their average order value up. Because if you're selling a product at 19 quid and your cost per acquisition is 9 or 10 or whatever, and everything else completely stacks up, there's nothing else we can do in that point, because we can't make, we can only try our best to get the client to do what, as in the user coming onto the website. So for instance, this one particular company, we were sending them through to multi-packs of a product because we knew there was a higher value. Apart from, they were going onto the multi-packs, then they were getting sidetracked by seeing 50 different types of multi-packs, looking around and then bouncing again. So now it's kind of, okay, right, we need to set them to a single product page of a top selling product pack. And let's see how that works, by the fact that, kind of, even though it's a product page, let's say it's more of a landing page, there's less places for them to go. So they either buy or they don't. So we have to look at all these things. And I think because we discuss this with our clients a lot, I think they learn very quickly from the process. Now, don't get me wrong, some just don't care because they pay, they pay us an agency and they just want us to deliver. But at the same time, we need them to also understand, because if they don't understand, it's not always quick wins and it's not always balloons and bloody party poppers. And if the client doesn't understand what you're trying to do, then again, you're just creating problems for yourself. But it's not an overnight thing. It takes quite a while for the clients to really pick up on what we're doing, because they're paying us because they don't understand and maybe don't want to understand maybe the figures and the stats, because our background is figures and stats and analyzing data. So that's to us, it becomes second nature. And the people on our teams, they understand it now, but it takes a while, doesn't it? Stuff that we think is very easy.
Yeah, it typically takes 6 months, and it's really weird. It's like a penny dropping. I guess it's like riding a bike. The second you've got it, it's really strange. It's very odd. But I think in terms of sort of lead gen, e-commerce post-click, I think a lot of people get sidetracked from a 1%. So I think a lot of people have this notion of if I drive 100 people there, one will buy, which is great. But how do you get to that 1%? And I don't think they realise that there's a lot in the middle there. There's a lot to do. Like I said, there's landing page views, there's content views, then you've got add to cart, then you've got initiate checkout, and then you've got purchase. There's 5 touch points there, 5 processes someone has to do to purchase from your business.
Yeah.
No one really. I don't believe. I'm sure there's many companies out there that are looking to that, but a lot of the ones we speak to, and obviously reach out to us, they're a bit confused. Oh, wow, okay, didn't realize that. And you can very quickly see, obviously the data's available to them. It's in Shopify or it's in their Google Analytics or even their Facebook Ads Manager. The data's available. It's there. It's in black and white, and you can see these bottlenecks very quickly. So why I like ecom from a post click is that you are going to get some sales from day one. That's why that's why I think a lot of e-commerce shops get the buzz, because you can get a sale quickly. You can absolutely blag a sale, can't you? You get a bad ad, you boost it and you get some sales. It's crazy some of the results we've seen from people boosting posts when we've gone on to their ads manager, and it gives them that sort of adrenaline hit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But then they're a month in and go, oh, this isn't as sexy. And it's like, well, no, because this is the hard bit now. This is that longevity and that predictability. And I know obviously people who speak to me hear this a lot, but you can only scale when it's predictable.
Yeah.
Do not scale unless you can pretty much guarantee what that CPA is going to be.
Absolutely.
I do think that there's probably another podcast on this post click for lead gen, because freaking lead gen for e-commerce, because there's so much on there, isn't there? And it is a minefield, and it's not easy, and it's definitely not sexy after the first month, is it?
No.
Because like you said, you've got bundles, you've got your LTVs, you've got your I could go on and on and on.
I think most clients who've got an e-com business they've started a business, they've got traction, but they've proved concept, people want their product. I think it's a bit daunting to them, especially when they speak to us, start working with us, how much actual work or more work they have to do to get to that shiny goal they wanted when they first set up their business. That shiny goal doesn't come very easily. And there's a lot.
No,
so then you've got email sequences after someone's bought a product as well.
I was going to say
the lifetime value of a customer.
I was going to say the other issue you've got, and this is, I use the word issue loosely, but the other thing you've got to bear in mind when you're then running an e-commerce shop is the stuff we've just discussed about lead gen, you've got to do for your e-commerce as well. So you've got two issues. You've got 2 things you've got to sort out. You've got to sort, how am I going to get someone to bloody purchase from me? And then once they have purchased, how do I increase their lifetime value? And again, that comes with that sequencing and that spider's web that I discussed earlier, because then that's when you really create a brand. Again, you don't create a brand overnight. And I know it's lovely looking at the likes of Gymshark and, Nike and all that stuff, and, Air Jordan. I get it. We all look at them, don't we? Admire them and go, fuck, imagine. And, and they all come out and 10 years later go, yeah, it's because I did what I love. Yeah, but you weren't saying that from day one, buddy. I can tell you that now.
Well,
there was a time
we know from people we know who know the guy from Gymshark from back in the day. He was the computer guy. So yeah, he had an eye on the design and what he had, his dream of what he wanted, the materials and blah blah. But like Ollie used to say, who was friends with him, he would sit there to the early hours of the morning, looking at the data from the Instagram, from Facebook, running Facebook ads. That's what his back end was, guys. So the guy from Gymshark was a data analysis who used the data to grow the business. Not the guy who's sitting at all the trade shows on stage going, "Hey, look at me." That was the 5%. The 95% was behind the scenes looking at data analytics. So there. Okay, well, I think we've gone over now. We've been on this quite a while now. So yeah, so that's where I don't think we diversify too much. I think it's basically on the post-click and all these things you need to have thinking for your own business, for your client's business, and for prospects' business who you're looking to take on, to basically make sure that you don't have the headaches that you're probably going to have, and to make sure the whole thing, because once you've got it tied up for a client and this is all working, and yeah, you might become very good, or you are very good at the post-click stuff and the email sequences. If you can do the whole funnel for them, then you're going to create some longevity for yourself. But you've also got to make sure that the client has got the patience, some money, and understands the overall view of the business. Because if they want a quick win and things aren't set, and that happens a lot though, doesn't it, James? Everyone wants the quick win, but they don't have the process in place, haven't got the want to put the process in place, but still want the quick win. And they'll just go from agency to agency, finding someone who will end up somehow miraculously making it work, but it won't.
No, and I remember actually, I don't know if you remember this prospect, Nick, who was in the apparel business, the other big shop around Birmingham. And I was very open and honest with him.
Oh yeah.
I was, as always, and he said, I rang him a couple of days later because he was very, he wanted to move from his agency quickly. He said, "Oh, you sort of scared me a bit." And I'm like, well, in a way, that's what you needed. This isn't, like you said, pie poppers and balloons. This is hard. This notion that you can run an ad and you'll get loads of sales and that's it forever. It's bollocks. It's utter, and it's so frustrating because there's a lot of agencies out there, and this isn't me, bad mouthing competitors, but there are people out there that sell the dream and don't know how to deliver. I think it's very different to companies that, agencies that take on clients and don't deliver because post-click conversion's not converting or vice versa. But there's many people out there that just haven't got the skill set to be able to convert these clicks and this traffic into customers. But yeah, that was a good example. That chap, he literally said I petrified him, and I sort of said why. I said because there's a lot to do, and I was like, well, this is a savvy guy. He's got a few shops in the Bullring, in Birmingham. Clever chap, but literally petrified him.
But he ended up going an agency that just said yes.
Yeah, well, yes, and there's always going to be an element of that. The clients just want to have yes men. I've got, there's a lot of people that we know, Nick, that want the yes men and agencies around them. But I'm not there to massage someone's ego. We're there to help people, and unfortunately, sometimes you have got to have those conversations, which are never nice. But something that we stress a lot, from my team and my side, is that we've generally got the best interest at heart of the client, and if that means telling them that, look, this isn't going to work, you need to stop. We had a conversation with our guttering company on Monday, Livia and I, and we just said we had to turn off your water butt ads. And they're like, "Oh, it's a really good seller." I'm like, "Yeah, it might be, but not in ads, it's not."
It's not getting sales in ads, no.
No, so yeah, it's like I say, it's always a battle. But yeah, hopefully I was good. Yeah, like I said, I hopefully didn't digress too much. But I do think we need to. I think we need to go into that lead gen post click again, actually, because there's obviously it's always moving. Obviously, with the chat times changing, especially since iOS 14, and as we know, that attribution window is now 7 days. So it's obviously definitely affected. It's not affected our results per se, but it's affecting what we're seeing. And I think I think having that follow up and all that process done correctly, I think will definitely help. So yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. Okay, well, thanks for listening, everyone. I hope that helps with you and your clients' businesses, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Cheers, Nick.
Cheers, guys. Bye.